And if you just watched the last video, that was a CPI FC70 frequency counter, which belonged to a customer. This is another piece of CPI, or Communications Power Incorporated equipment. This is the Talk Power. Now, it doesn't have a model number on it. Actually, I don't even think the boxes did. It just did come with the factory box. And the label's about half ripped off. But you can see that is the original CPI label, and the serial number does match the number on the bottom of this unit, but it's actually a TP-1A. And what it is a speech compressor. And this one actually, for a lot of these, there's a lot of companies made speech compressors over the years for CB radios. This, in my opinion, is one of the better working ones. Now, they can be very finicky to get adjusted right. It doesn't take much, adjustment to where you're going from way not enough to way, way too much. But so this is one of those ones that really pays to have someone that knows what you sound like on the radio, listening to you and giving you good, honest radio checks. But using one of these actually really does help a lot. They, like I say, they were well designed, and I have to say, exactly, if you watch the video on that FC70 frequency counter, I have the exact same thing to say about this one. And I'm not going to work on this today, because I've had enough of idiot engineered assemblies, and this is another one of them. And once I get it, I show you how it works. I'll show you what I mean. But yeah, it's impossible to service another. And this thing's 10 times worse than the frequency counter. I mean, this is just, oh my God, what were they thinking? You literally sit there and wonder, how am I supposed to get it apart? But in any case, so I have it hooked up to a radio. I just have the mic plugs. Yeah, it needed help anyhow, but it was actually wired correctly. Now, these are fairly straightforward. If it's a four-wire plug, they're very simple. They have a set of terminals down in here that come up off the circuit board, and then you just pull the push-on terminal off of those terminals on the board. You look in the owner's manual, which actually this came with all of the original paperwork, even. Which, yeah, it's not in the box anymore. It's right. I already put that away in the filing cabinet in my CPI folder. But like I say, it has the listings on what terminals for which to get it to work. But so you can see, unlike actually, and this is it needs to be taken apart. I don't have a choice. I want to take it apart to replace, because this is mine. This does belong to me. So there's no rush. I don't have to finish this for a customer. I just wanted to unbox it, see if it worked, and then I can put it on my ever-growing mountain of to-do stuff for myself. But let me turn it off here. You can see there are a considerable amount, for something so small. There's actually a lot of electrolytic capacitors in here. The big filter cap for the DC power, AC to DC power supply, and then there's a bunch of other ones down in here. But as you can see, unlike a lot of, if you've ever had any, compression circuits apart that were, made by other companies, there's really usually not much to them. The CPI, they're very well designed. Now this is, I now have 2 of these, and I wanted this one because I thought it was. I wasn't sure, but I got it, and it's what I wanted. This is the other model. They made 2 completely different units. I mean, they look exactly the same from the outside, but the circuitry is completely different. Now, they both work just fine. I think this one does work better, in my opinion. But, yeah, this one's got problems, because when I turn it on, I just flip the switch on. You notice it's not on. There, just... it's got problems. It's on. There's a bad solder joint probably somewhere. So need to get that taken care of. But so what I have is I got a microphone hooked up to this, or actually to this. Runs out into this radio, runs over to my BK1040. And then I have the scope output on that run over to that oscilloscope right there. So let me reposition the camera here, so you can see the screen. I don't know, I might need to turn the intensity down on that, because I know sometimes the oscilloscope screens, which are CRT screens, can blind a camera. But what I'm going to feed into it is a double-tone audio signal into the microphone. What I'm going to do is just turn the compressor on and off. So let me turn the... So I don't know if you can hear. That's a double tone. So that's with the compressor off, but you'll notice there's peaks. They're not all even. You see the tips, on the, I went out of focus, my hand knocked it out. Let me get a pointer. My hand's not getting in there, screwing the focus up. But you see how you've got a peak here, it drops down, it comes back up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Well, what a compressor does is, a compressor helps to knock down the high peaks. It's an amplifier, because that's what a compressor is. It amplifies the signal and reduces the peaks. The idea being is you want to have all of these peaks at approximately the same level. So if I reach over here and turn the compressor on, so it looks like I need to turn the compression level down a little bit. It's actually a little overmodulated. The intensity, it may have it screwed up slightly. It's not pinched in the middle there, actually. So there you can see with the compressor on, compressor off, compressor on, compressor off. So what that actually does for you is, so if you look at it on a peak power meter, what you'll see is an increase in power, because you've gone from having, a good bit of power here, but then it drops off, and then it starts to pick back up, and then it drops off. You turn the compressor on, all of those peaks are almost at the exact same level now. It's compressed, or it's reduced the gain of the amplifier stage when it comes up to one of those ones that was higher before, and then it's amplified the lower signals. So they're all approximately the same. But what that does, in a nutshell, is get you, and that's why they call it, kind of appropriately named talk power, because that's what it does. It does give you talk power. And unlike just turning the mic gain up, or if you're using a power mic, where that's really good if you turn your power mic up too much, especially in people that like to, butcher radios and do stuff like clip modulation limiters. The problem with stuff like that is you end up overmodulating. You get boxcar waveforms, your waveform starts to pinch in between those peaks and valleys, it'll start to pinch, and you actually have to have a considerable amount of overmodulation before it really starts to become evident on air to where you'll hear it. You've well already started to splatter across the RF spectrum long before you'll actually hear it. But like I said, these are a great way to get additional talk power, additional peak power, without overmodulating. Because like I say, it reduces the peaks and amplifies the lows, which is exactly what it does. It helps to level out the audio output. So those, certain frequencies in everybody's voice, you're going to have some that are lower and some that are higher. Well, it helps to compress the ones that are the louder volume, and some of the frequencies in your voice that are lower, it helps to amplify them. Net result being, you can talk farther on air and helps you to punch through the pileup. Now, this specific little unit, what makes it, they definitely did not design this thing to ever be worked on. No ifs, ands, buts. There's no other way to put it. This was not meant to ever have human hands in it again. Because, yeah, it's, wow. The problem is, everything's mounted in a U-bracket. This is all one piece of metal. Well, how in the hell do you get that circuit board out? All of the controls and everything along the back, which there's not much on the back, mic cord, power cord, and a DC power, because this is, you could run this off AC or DC. So if you wanted to use this in a mobile application, you just hook up your, 12 volts to those terminals there. But, yeah, how do you get that out? Now, this is no biggie, 2 screws, you can take that jack off, take your strain relief pliers, you can pop these 2 out. This one's easy enough, you can just pull all the terminals off, pull that out. The AC power cord, one goes to, I think one goes, yeah, and somebody, I guess, has tried to work on this at some point in time, because, yeah, they've got this apparently patched together. The problem is getting this board up and out with all this shit here. And if you notice, the screws are captured. Okay, that's what sucks, absolutely sucks about CPI equipment. Royce did that. There was a lot of radios. They did that with faceplates on radios. They've got captured screws. Now, it's one thing if it's a standoff on the back, and then the component mounts to that, and that has a nut then. A screw gets captured in there as long as you can unscrew it from the backside, though. How are you supposed to unscrew that screw? See that? It's screwed into the power switch here. Where's the screw head? It's behind this decal. Yeah, and trying to get one of these things off without damaging it or bending it or tweaking it and making it look like shit is, yeah, it's hard. It's next to near impossible. So, yeah, it really, really hard to work on these things. About the only choice you have is you have to desolder all of the wires off of these switches, because they have to stay, because, like I say, the screw heads are back there. You can't unscrew these switches. So you have to take all the wires off of the switches. You can desolder the ones off the meter and pull the meter out. Then you get, actually, there's a nut. It might not have had a nut there. Actually, I don't think they did. They just had that one nut on that standoff and then one here and here. Then you can take the nuts off, but it's still tricky trying to get this thing pulled up, twist it up off the studs and out. And yeah, it's, like I say, you just have to look at it and kind of laugh and go, yeah, buddy. Like I say, this is another one of those, and if it looks like it's wet down in there, it's because I actually, I sprayed the switches and the control with some cleaner. But yeah, this is another one of those things you just look at and think, yep, I know why there are mass murderers in the world, because this is one of those things you look at and go, if I was ever in a dark alley and somebody walked up and said, hey man, you'll never guess what I used to do for a living. And I'd say, what's that? He'd say, I used to be the mechanical engineer that designed the radio cabinets for CPI. I don't think that guy would make it out of that alley alive that night. I'd probably tell him, hey buddy, I got something for you, and I'd come home and I'd get a piece of CPI equipment and I'd take it back and I'd beat him over the head until he was dead. But yeah, fortunately they built their stuff really good quality, so it doesn't break a lot. Like I say, the only downfall of anything electronic, it doesn't matter who made it, how high a quality the component, eventually all the electrolytic capacitors are going to go bad. So yeah, that's the, it has to be dismantled. Not going to be today. I just wanted to show this and go over a little bit about what a speech compressor does, and actually show you on an oscilloscope what it does. So you could see the before with uneven peaks for the different frequencies, because like I said, I was using a two-tone audio signal there, and you could see there was peaks and dips and peaks, and it would come down to a dip. And when you turn the compressor on, they were almost perfectly level at the same exact output power. So there you go. There's a little preview of the TP-1A Communications Power Incorporated speech compressor.